Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. How is my audio? Sticking a little reminder in the Discord. Discord's going well. Got quite a few people in there now. We're up to... I don't know why I'm acting like I haven't counted. I have counted. We're at 61 right now. Very exciting. Can join with the link down there if you want. Streaming right now. Cool. Hopefully I'm live. Should probably have checked. Thought I'd sit down today. Back's killing me a bit, but the temptation to say you're muted, that means I'm not. Ha. Thanks, Marcus. What's up, Tartar Sauce? First name Tartar, second name Sauce. Oh. Lights too light. Last minute decision to choose to sit and not stand. Ruins everything. Cool, he's live. Alright. We're gonna jump into it today with a banger. Obviously. So the first shot is this great shot by CRISPR or CRISPR-DZ. Hey Juan, how are you? So CRISPR-DZ, I'm gonna call you CRISPR, hope that's okay. Says, wow, okay, hello. Looks like I'm the first one here. Well, hi, here's an animation sequence I made in 2 weeks as a form of venting while crunching on 2 tight deadlines. Because I'm an idiot, lol. So you made this in 2 weeks while working on 2 deadlines as well? That's crazy. I modeled and rigged the soldiers while I downloaded the scientists and the zombies from the internet. My goal here was to convey chaos and confusion of a fight scene while keeping it entertaining in a way that the viewer notices something new every time they watch it. I hope this will be worth your time. Thank you so much for the review in case you decide to pick it up, and thank you so much for taking the time to read this. No problem. Thank you very much for sharing. I've had a sneaky peek. I know some people have on Discord already, and it looks super great. So let's jump into it and have a watch, shall we? I'm not sure if you guys can hear audio, but let me know. Change it. So I feel like we could just sit here and watch this for an hour and a half on repeat. It's so cool. The level of polish and the amount of details and things to watch is kind of crazy, but especially for 2 weeks. Kind of talk over this loud music. It's just great. Super cool. Thank you for sharing. Finished watching it that last time. Yeah, super great. Let's jump straight into it with some feedback, I guess. I think you certainly succeeded in achieving your goal of keeping it entertaining in a way that the viewer notices something new every time they watch it. And that it's worth our time. I certainly think this is worth our time. It's super cool. Have I gushed over it enough yet? Now let's Let's tear it apart, shall we? Hey Lewis, how you doing? All right. So I'm going to try and think of like overall notes that I can think of, I guess. And then go into some more polishy things. I probably can't go through every single thing on this just because it's 556 frames long and got a couple of other shots to get through as well. But I'll do my best to give as much as I can, or to learn as much as I can from this as well. It's super great. So I think in terms of story and like reading it and just the beats that you wanted to convey coming across, then it's mostly working super cool. I do think there's a lot of things happening at the same time, but you're kind of going for something that's very, very rewatchable. But that just kind of means we're then having to like work as a viewer to like choose where we want to look, which, you know, may not be a bad thing. I just think even with something like this, you can still separate it into beats and kind of have things kind of happening overall, and then within that have like those sub stories which you're focusing on and noticing. So I think here it's like very clear there's this front guy leading, this is all good, and then yeah, I think the clarity is cool here. It's kind of the chaos that you were wanting to go for. I think here when the guy in the middle reaches down and does the thing with the electrical stuff, I feel like there's something in there to just maybe add some clarity, because the first couple of times I watched it, I didn't really even notice the guy in the middle, maybe because he's grey and he's small and the other guys are doing a lot of action. But when that flickering of the light starts happening, you're kind of like, well, what's going on there? Like, what's causing that? And it takes you a few times to kind of notice that it's the guy in the middle. And I just feel like maybe there's something you could do to like draw attention to that guy, which then would feed into what's happening in the whole environment. And because it's such a massive thing that happens with like the flickering and the doors shuttering up and down, I feel like you could just be a little clearer than that, but a little clearer on that, just because when that's happening, you're like, oh, what's going on? And you don't kind of get the what's caused this. So maybe, for example, if the guy kind of does this thing, puts the screwdriver in, and then there's maybe like an explosion. I mean, you could use some kind of effects pack or something to do that, but there could just be like something happen there, like a spark or just anything to then draw our attention there to be like, oh, he's doing something with the electricals. And then all of the stuff could start happening. So it's kind of like, and then that then causes that, rather than that and instantly like the lights going crazy. Because you get it when you focus on that guy in the middle. But I don't know about everyone else who's watched this. I didn't really focus on the guy in the middle until like the third or fourth time that I watched it. Just because he's not doing that much and not moving as much. And I guess the contrast of him against the background is grey on grey, whereas the other guys are like black on grey, and it's a bit easier to read, and it just draws your eye a bit more. My eyes are naturally not on the guy in the center. Cool. I think the storytelling of that stuff is super cool as well. He has a little moment with the guy on the left. That's very cool. I kind of wish he had a moment with the guy on the right. He was kind of like, we good? Cool. And then when there's enough time to do that, and kind of feels like this guy just kind of gets left out. You know, I kind of feel like there's enough time in there to do something with both of them, and then he kind of does like a nod and then another nod, and the clarity is not quite there. I just feel like it would maybe be clearer if he's looking at the guy, and maybe as he turns he goes, or just looks at the guys and then walks away. Right now he does this kind of head movement around here, and then he does another nod, and I'm just not 100% clear on what those beats are and what the acting is on the guy. I'm also not sure exactly what he's doing there. He's acting away from camera. I don't know, it kind of feels like he wants to be getting something out of there, or I'm just not clear on what he's doing in this moment. It's good that he's not just, well, I don't know if it is good that he's not just walking, but it seems like he's kind of looking in his animation pocket for a while, and it's just not, I mean, it might be believable and you might buy it, but just in terms of like animation clarity, I feel like if he's doing that, he wants to kind of be doing that to camera and showing what he's doing. And I don't know, through this part here, I'm just not sure I totally buy what he's doing in terms of, I mean, it's still great. The body mechanics work great. It's just a minor note that story-wise, it feels like he's just playing with his pocket for some reason, but I don't know. There could be a stronger choice there, like he dropped his gun and he needs to, I don't know, he's like looking for it, or I don't know, there's something in there which could just be a stronger choice than like kind of just acting away from camera just for the sake of like keeping him not just walk cycling. And then I guess another overall note, I love what's going on with the camera through here. I feel like it's working super nice. I feel like the kind of shaky cam with what's going on does work really nice. When we come to a stop here, I feel like because they're so still, you almost want the camera to like react to that. Like the cameraman behind there is like, oh my god, and kind of like with all the zombies, like, oh my god, I don't know who to focus on or what to really do or focus on here. It just feels like he wants to almost come to a calm like them for this moment here. But the camera's kind of still going with the same movement, and it almost makes you feel like a little bit seasick. I don't know, I feel like it could calm, match the mood of the characters, and then it would also help sell when that jolt happens, if the camera kind of went, whoa, again, you know, it kind of all calms down and then whoa, just goes back into shaky mode. Yeah, super cool. All right, let's zoom in and enhance. Still zoom in a bit more. Cool. Let's have a look at what this guy's doing. Okay, he's grabbing him with his legs. That's great. Lovely stuff. I think, by the way, the level of polish that you've achieved in this, especially for 2 weeks, is super great. Like, by all means, totally ignore these notes, take them into your next animation, but I'll give them anyway for learning purposes, I guess. Just trying to break down some things, but super good stuff. I feel like there's maybe something in this arc of the guy when he jumps Feels like you want to hold when he gets up here. Like by here, maybe should just still be up here a little bit. You almost want to like read him in this pose where he's like, ah, got ya. And then this is all a little bit linear. Like if you could just hold it a little bit longer. Boom. And then I think what we're kind of missing in here, for me, when I first watched it, I feel like he wants to... I feel like the momentum of when he falls down wants to take the guy's head down. It kind of feels like he starts like rotating and the body mechanics become a little bit questionable through here. If you look at like his head, feels like he kind of wants to hit the floor with that. Like he's dragging him into the floor and just smashing his head into the floor, which then kind of does the rotation on him. I don't know. That's kind of what this motion and what happens feels like it should be instinctively. I'm also like a little unclear on this pose in terms of the guy, what did you call him? The soldier. It was very cool, by the way. I feel like this pose on him is just like a little unclear. I want him like doing some kind of like flat thing here, I suppose. And this guy's head just like further coming down. Those are feet, by the way. Because the zombie just feels a little weightless. I get what you're doing with the like trying to throw him, but I think because the guy hits the floor, it's making it unbelievable. I feel like to get that kind of motion, you would need the guy to like kind of land. That's his head, and you'd kind of need to have him like this almost with the zombie's head in here, you know, in this kind of thing, to then drag him over. Because this guy's arc, especially where the zombie's head is like down here, kind of feels like he's trying to be smashed into the floor immediately rather than thrown, to me. So I think it's either like fixing this in between, like this this pose here and what happens, which would then help that, or just like slam him into the floor. I feel like slamming it into the floor would still kind of go with what you have in terms of like getting flung here. Because you kind of want... This is cool. I kind of like what's going on here. When it gets to this, I feel like you kind of want head on the floor. Like the legs kind of smushed. Boom. And then he can come out of that compression. I mean, looking at this now, this kind of seems like it wants to be, you know, something more like this. And then you can get that compression through the whole body where this kind of like starts to lead up with almost like a bouncing ball. His head is a bouncing ball that's bounced off the floor. And then these are like overlapping down. Ooh. Into kind of what you have. I don't know. I don't know what the legs are doing. Kind of a theme with my reviews. But it's just because I don't really focus on the legs first. I kind of focus on what the torso is doing with a lot of stuff. But if he's kind of doing that and then goes into what you have, where, you know, you have the zombie flying. And then I think, like, in terms of going back into what you have, I feel like when it hits, you kind of want a slightly, like, stronger line of action through here. I'm gonna ban legs. Yeah, maybe that makes sense. Yeah, so you get like a little compression and then he bounces into what you already have. And then looking at the soldier, I like what his mechanics are doing. Just in this moment, if he landed like that, feels like his momentum would then not take him here. He would almost want to be... I think this leg here is believable. I'm buying that. I think it could just be like his mechanics. It feels like he's kind of in the wrong reversal here. Just drew that head getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Hey, Crisper. We got Crisper in the chat. Just been gushing over your work, man. It's super cool. So if this is maybe... Yeah, that'll be nicer because then if you go from this reversal into this, it just gives you the C shape in the spine. From this to this, rather than going from this to this. Undo. And then this movement he does to the side here, the right. Feels like he should be going the other way. Hey, we got Usman in the chat as well. Yes, Crisper, it is time to be harsh. I said some nice things, and now it's time to not be nice. But I said earlier, you weren't here, but I said, kind of take all of these things if you want. You can change them if you like, but it's such a cool and well executed shot that, you know, these are just nice to haves, or, you know, just trying to learn from it because it's super well developed and nicely done. Stop gushing, come on, get on with the being mean. All right, here he does a shift with his body weight, but moves the leg that's underneath him. If anything, he would move, which I think is nice, but this leg underneath him would stay still, and this one would then move. I think, to be honest, I would lean into kind of moving him over this way, getting this, because he's so far over on this leg at the moment. Kind of feels like he wants to be like transitioning over into this to then be able to stand up, you know. Feels like he'd need to put his hand down here to make this make sense. There's a few different things you could do. I'm just kind of spitballing ideas here, but in order to make that, the mechanics of that make sense. Cool, we're gonna stay in this section and look at the zombies. So it's nice. I like the timing. That's super fun. I just feel like it could be pushed more with the zombie. We could get a bit more of a line of action. These legs could be there. We could be, maybe these could actually be like reaching out for him. Again, it's just all about reversals with me. I can't stop going on about it, to be honest. The Discord link doesn't work? Cool. Sorry about that. Can someone from the Discord maybe post the Discord link in the chat, so that people can jump in there if they want? That would be very helpful. Thank you. But yeah, I'm just always on about going from reversal to reversal with that spine shape, and it's a good opportunity, especially in the jump, to do that. I know that this rig probably isn't the most forgiving, but if there's something you can do to just improve the kind of shape so that it's not so, I mean, you don't like exactly need super clean shapes like that. It's not really what I'm saying. I'm just kind of saying I feel like you could get at least like a clean shape there, and then maybe this is a little more complex, you know, but essentially just a reversey. Got distracted by not having the Discord chat, the Discord link. Invite people. Copy. Let's see if this works. Try that link. Squad grab. Then we got some smears going on. Yes. Oh, the timing's super nice through there. I love that punch. That throw. Feels super good. It's done really well. Really kind of bridges the gap between what happened and what's happening, which is kind of the rule, if you want, with smears. So you can see he's gone from here, he's probably like here, and then he's going there. So it's just perfect smear. And then he doesn't even look at this guy. That's so good. It feels like he wants to throw that guy faster though, you know? He's just put all of this effort into this. And you kind of want to hold that and be like, nope, you're going back there. And throw him. Because he's kind of working like a smear right now. And then you just don't get that spacing pop. Kind of feels like he wants to be... You know? It feels like that's what he's winding up to. I mean, maybe you don't want to smear him because it would be too much. I just feel like the spacing could be pushed a bit more there. Feels like it wants to be. He's really like, yeah, you know. And then he kind of just goes, you go over there, please. And the payoff is like, the anticipation is so nice and it builds so much to then not have the spacing that it builds to, you know. It's, yeah. Oh, that's so cool. Look at that smear. Cool. I kind of like that you're holding here as well in the spacing. You'd think that you would go, you know, do this big spacing, and then he would kind of be here. Kind of nice that he has that little hold in the spacing on this frame, because it just kind of reads a little clearer. I think getting rid of that zombie as well will also allow this guy just a little more space. Like, he'd already be gone by this point. So then you would never get that crossover that's happening here, which is just kind of creating a lack of clarity. So he would be clear, running, doing this thing. Whatever, zombies. And this guy's already like over here, collapsed or whatever. Squishy head, nice. Again, with the line of action, I feel like you could like lead this more with the head. So he gets hit, and the hips and the head all start moving. It would be cool if maybe even the hip just kept going, and the chest was kind of like that. I like what you're doing with the spacing on the head. It'd just be cool to kind of break that up a bit more, so it's kind of like, and then catching up into what you have. Nice. And there it's nice that he, you know, leads with the head. The rest of the body kind of stays in the same shape. It would be cool if that head led the movement, which is nice. And that kind of chain reacted through the body, so that by here he's kind of doing this. Just all about reversals and stuff. Line of action. Oh no, I'm off screen there. Oops. Alright. I'm gonna just that zoom in. Okay, move. Sorry. Alright, so that guy gets thrown. I was saying about having some like screen space between these, because this guy would be gone. And I was talking about the hip kind of continuing forward there, and the head leading back, to then do the same thing there. There you go, boom. And then chain react through the body. So, whoa. Just reverse CC, reverse CC. You see here, it's kind of, I mean, I don't hate that, you know, I don't hate the spine shape here. I think that's working quite well. Just feel like the legs could complement that more. So maybe like here, you know? You don't want to make him too graceful, obviously, but just it could punch up the animation by doing this kind of thing. It's kind of funny that he just smacks off though. I mean, yeah, I think a big thing to focus on is probably the line of action through these guys. It'd be cool to, you know, it's cool that he kind of leads around with the legs here. I just think you can get that nice line of action through the body. Crisper's in the chat saying, "Oh man, the zombie poses are not polished at all. Like at all. The scene started glitching when I was about polishing the soldier so it's decided to finish it off before it gets corrupted. Fair enough. All right, I probably won't look too much at the zombie. I mean, like I said, I can't look at this all the way through anyway, really, just because it's such a long shot. I don't know how you've done this in 2 weeks, to be honest. Super impressive. Let's maybe try and focus more on the soldiers then. I feel like the zombie ones are mostly going to be spine shape and things like that. So it does this nice swing here. Again, super nice smear. Bosh. Look at that. Beautiful. Okay, it kind of flies a bit here. So what needs to happen there? Oh, that's super cool. Just play it in slow motion for an hour and a half. Look at that, super cool. So I feel like in order to come back down, the leg kind of needs to be... So we do this move over. There needs to be something then transferring that weight back over to get the hit down. Like, you can't change direct unless he's got a jetpack on. He does look like he's got a jetpack on, to be fair. I'm not sure that's what we were going for, but it kind of looks like we need to... One sec. Okay, cool. Can you guys hear any music? Because I can't. Do you have music playing? Maybe it's just playing super quiet. I don't know. Let me know if that's too loud. Where was I? All right, the weight transfer of this. Yeah, so you can't transfer, like, you can't jump over and then come back that way. It just doesn't work like that. I tried to do it more with like spine shape, if you want to get that change, rather than kind of like going over with the hips to then come back. So for example, this is nice. I just feel like maybe you could do it without doing this as a jump, you know? So through this part, he's kind of a bit further down. And let's say, for example, that he's got his foot out here. He leads with that foot out. I kind of like that you're using the hit as a way to kind of like almost rebound him backwards. That's cool. So maybe you can push that even more. Love that. Polishy, but you should probably have that planted another frame. Lovely pose. Oh, lovely settle. Straight into that. Nice. I was going to say maybe you want to start like lifting this foot here, but it's really nice that he goes into this kind of dynamic pose with the leg. I think that's super cool. Probably would have thought, oh, he needs another foot plant here. It could also just be like, it feels like those feet are planting, well, through here they kind of get a little bit mushy. I can't really read that too much. Feels like this almost wants to like lead through, you know? And then this one could be like still out. So he hits where he does, and then this one could still be like this into what you have. Because this back leg is taking so much weight, you almost don't need that front one. It's just like fully that one stopping it, you know? And I feel like you want to get this, you know, when he lands, you kind of want to get that foot kind of like this, you know? And there's not really, in the current animation, it kind of, he's doing this and then his foot is kind of like below him, it feels like. I mean, there's a little bit of it here. It just feels like it could probably be pushed, and I think maybe the way of doing that is just to get that over just a little bit sooner and lead with it a little bit more. Wow, that's super cool. Play that. Okay, in terms of timing here, I feel like that's nice. It just feels like the rhythm of all of those movements are fairly similar. He's kind of like, It kind of feels like you could, boom, 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 bah, you know, or boom, 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 ba-da, something like that. It kind of feels like they're all do at the moment. All those movements, you know. I feel like there's maybe an opportunity to go boom, 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 boom. To almost like hold this. Like hold the kick pose. I feel like you could do a hold there where he's maybe, you know, doing his kick in the air or something. I don't know. Just to like create some hang time in there would kind of be cool. But then, so it's like he does his thing, holds a kind of like cool pose here. So I feel like this is cool what you have, and then you could like hold this almost. What's going on here? And then go into, after a hold, like into, you know, does that make sense doing it with my voice and acting without seeing any of my limbs? He's kind of like, it feels like it could be like, you know? I don't know if that makes sense. Hopefully it does. I'm sure it does. Like, this is super good. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Awesome. Just... What a great weighty shrug. But again, it's wait, is this even on the camera? Yes, it is. It's just a little lost in the camera move. If you watch this back, CRISPR, at the start I was talking about how the camera move, it kind of all gets a little lost through this motion where they all get a bit still. I feel like the camera should become still with them. Yeah. I mean, you've got awesome body mechanics, man. Super cool. I want to look at the other guy, really. Okay. Hopefully. Okay, he's pretty much on screen the whole time if we do this. I'll just zoom out slightly. And... Cool. Okay. On first glance, it kind of looks like he's like a spaceman on his jump in. This guy I'm talking about. Oh. He's just kind of got that unbelievable movement to him. I mean, it looks like they're kind of on a space station, so I kind of completely buy it, to be honest with you. Just feels like the legs need to be doing a little more like instead of like ding, ding, which he's doing right now. This is the stream where I just do noises instead of actual notes. Yeah, it just feels like he could probably like delay that back foot if he's planting here. Get that going forward. Which I think would make him feel more unbalanced as well if he kind of planted with this foot I'm talking about. And then this one can start to drag through. No, that would then be up here. That makes sense. Super hard to draw. Little legs. Right, what am I drawing here? Come on. We got a straight leg. And then at the back, you've got like this one kind of leading through. Yeah, it just feels like we need maybe a couple more steps in here, you know? Into what you have. Love it. There's a real nice payoff from that. Like the spacing that happens after that with the smear and stuff, just, yeah, it feels super good. Cool. Honestly, at this point, I'm just scrolling through very slowly so we can just admire your awesome work. So Lewis was asking in the chat about the smear frames and how they were made. And CRISPR is saying, just for the sakes of the VOD and people watching this later, nothing tricky, just pieces of mesh with the same color stretched out and show up for one frame. Could be a sphere, anything, just a substitute to motion blur. I mean, you've even animated the antennas on the backpacks, like, crazy amount of work. What a beast. I think here there's a little foot slide, and I'm not sure I believe that. I think it's great up to here. It just feels like it wants to stay planted. And then probably plant this one, like a little bit. So that this one is planted and this one is then kind of lifting off into that a little bit earlier. That's what it feels like to me. I also wonder if he needs to go that far over. I feel like not going that far over would help that issue. So he'd kind of get to, you know, like here. Only because it feels like headspace wise, he's going from that to that with this arc. And that just kind of needs to be one linear movement to me. So I feel like this one kind of wants to be over here. So maybe this even doesn't even go that far. It goes to like here. You know? This arc out. So there's a little like problem in the headspace arc right now, which I think can just be remedied by having this. He's kind of going into this pose, which is cool. I mean, the headspace in my drawings is all over the place, but hopefully you can see what I mean. And then just going into this movement. I think this is cool. But the headspace kind of starts going back before he's planted his hands, which is the unbelievable thing to me, you know? His head would kind of drop down, just guessing what the spacing would do, but it would kind of almost like ease to here. And then when his arms are kind of planted, these are arms that I'm drawing, then he would be able to kind of like push himself back off of his arms, because that's where that power is coming from. I feel like that just wants to be delayed a few frames. You get that kind of, if you can get something like this, I don't know. It would just create a little more impact as well, having him further away. So it's kind of win-win. Love it. Oops. Kind of got lost there. Yeah, and then we can probably have a little more compression too. So it could be like, why not be way back? Full tea bag. And then we have the lovely smear once again. Okay. Awesome. The zombie falls into multiple pieces, head falls off. Very nice. That's great. The mechanics of like the head falling off and stuff is so good. Yeah, let's quickly have a little playthrough just to enjoy the subtle, beautiful body mechanics you put on this other guy. If I have one small note, it's this leg feels like it lifts off a little too soon. It's making the walk feel a little lumpy, almost like he's walking, like the up down is kind of matching like his feet, and that just kind of makes things feel like I'm super sad. And yeah, I think rather than making him feel weighty, it's just probably just not something you got around to polishing. I mean, you can see it's just kind of sliding, so that's probably all it is. But yeah. Awesome. I could look at this forever. Oh, we've actually gone for an hour looking at this, so we should move on to the next one. Thanks so much, CRISPR. Super fun to review this and have a look at what you've done. I'm sure CRISPR will maybe post a link to this in the chat if anyone wants to check it out, frame by frame it themselves. Super good. Thanks very much. Right. Switch to parkour. Parkour. Cool. Drink time. Oh, stretched that too. Definitely feel it more sitting down compared to stand up reviewing. Everyone do a stretch right now if you're watching. I have no idea how many people are watching. Could just be me talking to myself. But if you're watching this later on at some point, and I'm not just speaking into the void, then do a stretch. It's good for you. Oh, give your shoulders a little rub as well. Right. This next one is my neck to Manx. And it's some parkour. Let's have a little playthrough, shall we? There we go. Tartar sauce in the chat. Doing a stretch. Oh, good. I'm not going to demonstrate it on stream right now. But the best stretch is the pigeon pose. Just saying. Give it a Google. Incorporate it into your life. It'll make you feel better. Honestly, game changer. The pigeon pose. Honestly, you should do a video on that, or just a stream doing the pigeon pose and get everyone to do the pigeon pose. It's just the best. Anyway, animation. Cool, lovely stuff. Thank you, Netmanx. Play it through a couple times. Okay. Yeah, let's jump straight into it. We've got some catching up to do. I have spent quite a long time on CRISPRs. So I think initially, I feel like the composition doesn't need to be so on a third. It can be, and that's fine. It just feels like we go from on a third to central. Like here, if you track the headspace. We go from here to... I've got it on laser pointer. Cool, if we track the headspace. Kind of going central here. Why not just keep her central from the start, I think. Yes, we need to do some animation yoga sessions. I don't really do yoga, I just do pigeon pose. But to be honest, that's just an hour and a half stream of now do pigeon pose again. Would help some people out, honestly. It's the best. Got me talking about pigeon pose. Can't concentrate. Alright. So, composition-wise, yeah, I would have her more central here, I think. Get her doing her thing. Looking at the way down, how scary it is. I think the antic pose, it's kind of funny right now, which is great because animation, funny, good. The only thing is, I feel like it's not necessarily intended to be funny. I just feel like because she's kind of looking over here and then doesn't go like right there, or it doesn't feel like she's aiming to run there. Maybe she is. I think there's things in her body mechanics which aren't maybe hooking up with that. Maybe she is running, like aiming to go forward, in which case I would make this pose looking forward. You know, you kind of got two ideas here. She's looking down. If you're going for looking forward to looking down, like that's steep, then have a look back up again. I feel like that would be how you would do it. You wouldn't have a kind of looking down and then going straight into an antic. It kind of feels like I'm not exactly sure what her intention is, which is why when we get to this pose, it kind of feels like comedy when we then don't deliver on going this way, you know? There's a lot of different ideas happening, and I think it just needs to kind of be simplified what the idea is here. You know, if she's apprehensive about how far down it is before she makes her jump, I think you kind of need to imply that I want to go over there. Ooh, it's quite steep though, but I'm going to do it anyway and then jump. Rather than just keeping on her looking down. If she is trying to go down, which she does, then I think in this pose, you kind of want her just like looking down. So I would say, right, like looking down. I think going back is the right choice, not necessarily like changing the C shape in her spine. So it's maybe, I don't know why I made it crouch so much there. Don't know, that feels nice. But, you know, looking down. Maybe she's got her arm up or something. Maybe she's got some of that going on. Oh no, there's no back pole there, but I don't know. Could be an arm there. We'll go with what you have anyway. I think what it would be is maybe something a bit more But she's like dragging it into her body. CRISPR saying, thank you for reviewing the short. It's been truly a blast watching you tear down my child to pieces. That's what I'm going for. If anyone else wants their children torn to pieces, join the Discord. New channel intro. CRISPR, I appreciate your kind words, but honestly, super good animation, man. I didn't have too much. I mean, I did when I started looking super close, but I feel like the better an animation, the more anyone will have like to say about it, you know. There's probably Glenn Keane's probably watching the Spider-Verse with a million notes, you know. Cool. Let's stop getting distracted by things. And review. Personally think she needs to lead more like this. Before then going into the big jump pose. So the way I'm honestly reading this is she's jumping to that point to then swing round, and this is all purposeful. So that's how I'm gonna kind of review this. Just because she's like looking down and not looking where she's going. That's how it reads to me. I kind of like what's going on with the timing. I think camera-wise, we want to kind of be keeping it central, ideally. Oh, look at that chunky body. Some of this. But yeah, just follow with the camera. Kind of like that she goes off screen here. I just catch up with her a bit sooner so that, again, we're just a bit more like central with the pose that we're doing. I think it's a cool pose. And again, here we just kind of get a little bit too off with her. Like camera-wise. Cool. So I like what's going on here in terms of like spine shape. It's cool. And then I feel like we want to be in that reversal, obviously taking into account the camera note. We just want to be in that reversal a bit sooner, personally, I think. Probably get some of this going. That's a leg. And honestly, delay this reversal until we get... Until we should be overlapping, you know? It feels like the lower body shouldn't really be overlapping until like maybe starting here, you know? Like, this is cool. And then, honestly, by, like, here, I feel like that's where you would want to be doing that reversal with the lower body. Boom. And then that drawing can go. What is that? And she's kind of like trying to catch herself. I don't know what this leg's doing yet. And then when she grabs on, we probably want to then start that reversal into, oof. At the down point, that's where she's going to want to be super like compressed. Probably something a bit more like this. You know, get those hips rotated up, chest rotated down. Honestly, we can push this. She's just had a big fall. Let's push it. Be loose as a head, promise. And then she can come up here. I'd go one way or the other with this personally. I would either kind of lean into the C shape we just had, which is probably what I think I would do. Maybe she's like looking out like, whoa, I made it. And she's got like a bit of a C shape going on here. Legs. Or stand her up and again, looking down, whoa, you know, a bit of story in there. We're not just animating because parkour and we want to animate. Possibly could be pushed more. We want story in there and we want her to be like, whoa, I just nearly died. That was a close one. So I'd go either one of those two ways. Kind of depends on just what you want, what you fancy, and what story you want to tell. So what else have we got in here? A thing I wanted to mention but really had to resist because legs. And I didn't want to talk about the legs too soon when I was trying to focus on the body, but then ended up towards the end just drawing legs. Feels like here, it's cool that she's leading with the leg through here. I like this. Just feels like you can then keep that going. So she's almost like overdone it and the leg kind of swings through and just creates more overlap. Is that a leg? I don't know. Maybe. Yeah, you see how this is going to like come through into what you have. But by this point, it would still kind of be guessing about here. Or leading onto the drawing that we had. Just gonna do some nice flow stuff through there. That's cool. I don't know, maybe that one could still be out there. So you see how this back leg kind of just feels like it's not compressing at all. If you want to learn more about compression in limbs and stuff, maybe watch my last YouTube video with a little excerpt from the last live stream. Just a little plug for you there. If you want, join the Discord as well. I realized why the Discord link didn't work, and by I realized I mean Marcus sent me a link to the one that should work. Apparently Discord does temporary links, so by using the one that I used last week, that was just sending you to like nothing. That was a temporary link, so I'll have that sorted. It's fun trying to learn about all these things as an old man. But yeah, to just speak on what that leg maybe should be doing, I guess it's just coming up a bit too fast here, you know? Maybe it wants to be doing this. This is pretty close to what you probably want. And then this again is kind of there, but just taking longer to get into there and then doing this stuff. And then creating some nice overlap through those legs so that this one is kind of warm. Let's see. Yeah. Hopefully that makes sense. And I hope it helps. Thank you so much for sending that in, Netmanx. I really appreciate it. I noticed you got some notes from some guys on the Discord as well. So another benefit to being in the Discord. Join the Discord. People will give you notes there in your sync sketch, and then it's just all good. It's win-win, honestly. Why would you not join at this point? I mean, it's great if you can get a link to it. Cool. Let's move on to the next one. So this one is a Previs for an animation. It's got a cool idea in it, actually. A cool like way of telling the story without having to animate and using these characters, which I thought was quite fun. So this is by Diria. I think that's how you pronounce your name. I'm sorry if it's not. Let's play it while I have a drink and stretch. And you should stretch too while watching. Oh, wait, I needed to zoom in slightly on this one. A little too much. Okay, that worked. There you go. Stretch. Sorry, this one has audio. I don't know if I'm gonna get demonetized for that music. Who knows? But I like it. Oh, Alright, so it's cool how you just put little anime faces on the guys. Especially here. It's very funny. But it also just works well to like kind of convey what you're going for, you know, just instantly. Even got an eye dart in there with the little screen grabs. Super cool. So, Previs. Nice. With this shot, I wasn't sure if this was a zoom in or a walk in. If it's a walk in, then that's good. I feel like it should be the character stepping into frame, probably. Kind of adds an element of like they weren't just waiting there for the camera to start rolling to it, you know? It kind of adds some pretext to the, not pretext, it adds some believability to the scene, and it's just good acting, right? And a good actor never stands there waiting for their cue and goes, oh, I'm so sad. They're already there, like cooking food, and they're, you know, you give them something to do before the scene starts. That's good acting. An actor said that, or a director said that time. So it's true, probably. So if it is a camera move, I wouldn't do the camera move to reveal that character. I would just reveal that character by having that character step in personally, but, you know, it's only Previs. You might completely change it. I really like the cut between them. I think it's super cool. It jumps just enough. There's a question from Tartar Sauce saying, I have no idea how you give feedback to Previs. What do you look for? I am not a director. I did a little Previs work when I was still quite new to the industry. So that kind of taught me about cameras when I probably should have gone into the job knowing about cameras, because that was the job. But it was a very useful experience to have. And I enjoyed my time doing that, for sure. And it kind of gave me a little love for animating cameras and just appreciation for that kind of thing. So I guess what I'm looking for is just, what does this shot tell me story-wise? And if I'm a little confused on that, then there's probably something in there which could be changed or improved. So then I'm then starting to think, okay, what is that? What could we change? What could this be instead? But honestly, this is a great point to start asking people for feedback, you know? I know on personal shots I've done in the past, it's not so much the case when you're in production, because you're kind of given a camera and your character animation needs to happen within that. But when you're doing personal shots, you know, just doing a previs, especially if it's like some body mechanics thing or something which is very camera heavy like this, it's a great idea to share that quickly. Well, I guess all I'm looking for is, does it feel right? Do I know the story? Am I unclear on anything? And if that's the case, which is the case for a few things in here, then I can start trying to think about why that is. And honestly, that's kind of my approach to all notes on animation. Like, it's not all just there and I instantly look at it. And no animator does that either. You know, I see what's in front of me, something sticks out as not feeling quite right, and then I have to kind of investigate why that is and figure that out. So this whole process really is a great way to learn more about animation and just composing your own ideas and why you feel things about things in your head. But I feel like, going back to what I was saying, there's just a slight jump here, and I think that just works really nicely in the cut, where it doesn't feel like you're trying to replace a character, but it just hooks up super nicely, and I think that's cool. Try to maintain that. This shot, looking at it from that perspective, I'm like, what is the story here? I'm kind of like confused by this shot, because it looks like, okay, they're facing off against each other. This guy, so far, all good, fine. Then he runs towards the other guy, and then he's gone in the next shot. So I'm kind of unsure of what's... That's great. I'm unsure of what that's about. Like, why don't we just zoom out and then see him going towards the character? You know, he's just gone. So it feels like he should honestly not dart towards the character, because he's not going towards the character, as revealed later. Like, we somehow go to the sky. So if there was a more ambiguous way of doing it, for example, having the same kind of camera as this with this guy, maybe don't draw on green with green and with a laser pointer, but you know, if this guy is doing his thing, and then I feel like in anime he would, you know, just kind of smear off screen, and it would kind of be a little bit ambiguous as to where he's gone exactly. I feel like by doing it the way you've done it and going straight forward, it's like he's going for the guy, and then in the next shot he's not. The guy's like looking around for him, you know? Personally, I feel like you kind of want to give them the same treatment, their level, you know, they're equal. You've kind of introduced them both here. You introduce this guy even more, you get closer to his face, you see his intention, you see his acting. And then we cut to the other guy, and you don't seem to care about him as much. He's not the main character. Or he's not as much of a main character in this story as the other guy. So why not give him the same kind of framing, and then also make that exit more ambiguous, where maybe he just darts out screen left or right or up. You know, or maybe not darting out at all. Maybe, you know, doing one of these multiple person things, and then he's like vanished into thin air. Would work better when we cut to the other guy, and he's like, where the hell did that guy go? And then when we get to this shot, I'm going to play it with sound so I can try and get the context of why that's... Yeah, I feel like personally... Again, I'm just kind of going off instinct here and what feels right and what I feel like could maybe work better, just based on what I think your intentions are. I feel like we want to be stiller with the camera here and have it more about his movement. Having the camera shake feels... Especially like off the bat, having the camera shake feels a little bit kind of jarring. Like, why are we suddenly having a shaking camera? If anything, you wanted to add camera shake, because I know you have camera shake in the next shot. It would be cool to maybe ease into that over the course of the shot. But it feels like we start with so much camera movement and then almost ease that away. And I think it would just be cool to have the camera almost still. Maybe the camera is kind of doing what we as the audience are doing and looking around with the character as he looks around, you know? So he's looking around, we're going, where's that guy gone? If you think about the camera as a character, like, I feel like that would be clearer. I'd either try it still with a slight camera shake at the end. You could possibly have some kind of track in or out. I think to sell the aloneness of him, I would have it come out, just so we're revealing he's not anywhere nearby. The environment is just getting bigger, revealing more and more. We're revealing more and more to the audience of this guy is gone. Where is he gone? You know? Got the Zolly going on. Very nice. So this isn't camera shake. Wait, is it camera shake? It's not camera shake, is it? It's the guy shaking. I think this does a great job at being funny. When it got to, I thought this was cool. He's looking around. I thought this was cool. I think you could probably speed this shot up. I like that it kind of does a full rotation around him to reveal the environment. And again, there's no one around him. Just feels a little bit long when you look at the guy and what he's doing. He's kind of like, where's he gone? Where's he gone? Oh, and then it should cut, you know? That's why I feel like when I'm thinking about beats and timing. So if I play that and kind of try and act out what the guy's like, where is he? What has he gone? Oh. And then you kind of want to start seeing his face, you know? So honestly, it could be like half as long as it is. And that would just speed up the background movement as well and just add to like the chaos and the impending doom of that you're about to see on the guy's face, you know? Actually thinking about this previous shot now. It's funny at the moment. If you're going for funny, then keep it. If you're not going for funny, maybe don't have that so soon. It feels like that shot could actually be better placed after this shot, because that's such an extreme shot. It's a Zolly on his face. You're seeing the impending doom. You're seeing the, oh my god, you know. Like you almost want this shot, then this shot, then this shot, you know? So we cut from this, boom, to, nope, try and find it. From this to this, looking around, to this, then to this, with the realization. Could be something you try anyway. To me, this camera move doesn't reveal anything. Feels like someone's watching him from above. Honestly, feels like you could maybe frame him, you know, just something like this throughout the whole shot. I'm not sure the camera move does anything for us. Like we're not panning up to reveal anything. The only camera move I'd probably add to that kind of thing, where it's like he's looking around, reaction, is like a zoom on his face just to like punch that emotion. Just try and act it to my camera. He's like looking around and then, you know. But this kind of like adjustment of camera, unless it's revealing something, is kind of unnecessary. Cutting to this is unclear to me. I feel like a potential shot idea you could do, just throwing one out there, over the shoulder of the other guy. Let's draw him a bit bigger. Over the shoulder, he's looking up, sees in the distance like a flaming ball, maybe even smaller than that, just enough to like grab your attention. And then like harsh zoom into, or like this framing, you know? And then we cut, basically, we don't cut, Needs a drink. We go from that framing to this, and then you kind of get that like reveal of, wait, what is that? Into this, you get the geography of it as well, because cutting straight to this, you don't get any geography of what this is. I guess you get that it's his point of view. Another thing you could do with this shot, if you wanted to do a camera move, you could have his reaction and then kind of like a whip round to that. Again, I would whip round, and if it's his point of view, unless he has like binocular vision, he's not going to see it like that, you know, because I'm assuming this is an asteroid. It's pretty far away at this point. It would be cool if it's his point of view to actually have it small on screen at this point. Even if you don't have him in the foreground, I think it would be cool to have him in the foreground just to give it some geography, but I'd probably, you know, think about maybe cutting to something, you know, tiny, getting closer, getting slowly bigger over the course of the shot, and then if you wanted to, you could do a crazy zoom, because I feel like this is like some kind of corny, cheesy anime. You want to do some camera zooms and like massive punch-ins where you just hugely cheat in the spaces, and I'm not seeing that on this. Like, it would be a great opportunity to do it on this, where you kind of like just like zoom in to this. This guy gets a little bit bigger, and then he's like here, hanging on into, I don't know, I'm just kind of sketching him into what you have. You know, it'd be cool to punch in. I don't know, there's a few ideas here. I think you have to decide what you want to show. You want to show, oh, there's a massive asteroid coming towards us. I think the clearest thing would to kind of be showing it very small, but you're looking at it from the guy's point of view, and then somehow transitioning from seeing that very small, noticing, then seeing that massive, noticing the little guy on that, and then zooming in to get this, if that makes sense. To get this kind of pose. Again, I feel like this could just be pushed, so you almost get the guy's holding on, and it's cool. It's cool, this framing that you have. It would be cool if he like led that. So, for example, I feel like what they would do in like a big Sakuga moment is, you know, he would like come close to camera, then kind of like drive his arm through and almost like slam that thing into the ground, you know? I think that would be a cool way to transition into this. And then like somehow seeing that he is the one that has thrown this at the earth. Like, if there's a way that you can maybe reframe and have it here. I'm not saying this is definitely right, I'm just, let's try green, shall we? I'm just trying to think of what is feeling clear to me and what isn't. And going off his instincts, you know, I'm not a director, but if you just saw this little guy and cheated it maybe for this shot so that, you know, he's thrown this. I don't know. If there's any way that, you know, maybe he's not quite that big, but he's like a little speck here and you can see some kind of like something about him that's like he's just thrown that into the ground. I think also what would be super cool, just thinking about again, things that would be nice, if you had a shot where it was, okay, I need to find like a blank frame that I can draw on, but There's essentially like the guy standing there. And he's like, oh shit, there's a... Oh rubbish, there's a... Oh shoot, I said. There's a big asteroid, and then this shot is like that asteroid coming towards him. Just like he's getting bigger in screen space where the camera's attached to the asteroid and coming towards him. Yeah, sorry about the Discord link being invalid. Let me send you another one. Which shows like a way to pin that or something. I hope that works. Genghis Kant, nice name. Do you review only 3D stuff? I'm a 2D hobbyist animator who does 2D and would love for someone to dig into a scene of mine. I kind of feel like 3D is just 2D animation. It's just a different way of kind of creating that final image that you see on screen. So I'm happy to look at 2D work. That's fine. I'm not a 2D animator, but I have reviewed 2D stuff. Yeah. I mean, another cool idea is when if he did like that big throw past screen to then kind of whip round and have this, you know, so kind of be like a big throw. As you can see, I'm not a 2D animator. But if these legs were like a bit bigger or something, you know. So he's kind of thrown the asteroid to Earth, for example. And then you kind of see it like flying away from him towards the little guy who's like, oh no. That could be a cool idea and composition. And then this shot is very long. I think it's cool. It just doesn't, it stops telling the story after a while and it needs to cut away. And then I'm unsure of what this shot is. I assumed the guy was underneath the asteroid, but I mean, as a shot, it's pretty interesting. I guess for me, if he's like dodged out the way, I'd kind of need to see like distance between the asteroid and him. So for example, like he's maybe here, the asteroid is like here and he's, you know, in slow motion, like I don't know what's a leg, for example, and then this is doing all that like stuff. And then again, it cuts to him and I'm a little unsure of what's happened here. He's like landed and had time to stand by right next to the asteroid and be like, yeah. I don't know if you went for the idea if he's still like in space. I guess he's in that pose and he's just throwing something. Yay. Bad perspective, bad drawing, bad. But the key takeaway, I guess, is I'm not really sure what this shot is saying and the shot before. So think about that. Think about what the story is trying to say. But yeah, thanks for sending that, Diria. Very much appreciated. And everyone who stopped by to watch this, I really appreciate it. Switch to my camera when I do the outro. Yeah, there's a Discord link which is in the chat, which will be in the description of this video. I might cut up some bits of this video just to, I don't know, make some content, get some subscribers, get the algorithm stuff going. Yeah, join the Discord. If you want to post your work, you can post it there in Sync Sketch links. Hoping to build the community there. We had quite a few people join. We're on like 63, I think, right now, unless some people joined during the stream. Yeah, stop by, have your work reviewed. It's all good, really. My hero Halo VFX in the chat. Got to check out Josh's channel. I wish there's a way to like divert this to somewhere else. It'd definitely be to your channel, Josh. Just trying to be like Halo VFX, really. So yeah, awesome. Blitz, looking forward to the next one. Gonna drop the seagull animation in. Cool. There was a seagull animation that Blitz was working on in Discord. Gave a few. Oh no, I didn't give any notes actually, but Discord's fun. Join Discord, subscribe, like. Thanks for watching. Love you guys. Bye.